Well, hello, it is Caitlin, and today we're going to make some skirt lifters. So I usually put skirt lifters in the skirts themselves. So I take some twill tape, put them at regular intervals, and I can draw up the skirts if I need to for if I'm walking through mud, walking through tall dewy grass, anything where I don't want to ruin the hem of my skirt. I will use those, but some of my dresses are so sheer and so see-through that I really don't want to put skirt lifters in because they're going to show through the skirt, and if I'm showing off a pretty petticoat, it will interfere with that. And so I was looking for something different, and I came across this in Godey's Lady's book. It's March 1862, and it's called The Page, and it's basically a skirt lifter. And the figure 1 shows it as just the skirt lifter, and figure 2 shows it on the dress on the side, right there. And so it says The Page. This is exceedingly simple, being made of ribbon, cord, or velvet. Figure 1 represents the page alone, and figure 2 as it looks on the dress. It's a very nice contrivance to raise the dress in muddy weather, and at the same time quite pretty. And so it says you can use ribbon, cord, or velvet. That would all be silk. That wouldn't be, grove grain ribbon you find at Walmart. It wouldn't be the rayon or polyester cord. We're talking silk here. The easiest thing to find silk that's still round and would have been used as silk ribbon. So I'm going with ribbon. I picked 2 colors that would go with the majority of my dresses. I chose a brown and a green. And other than that, I think all we shall need is some scissors to cut this, perhaps a bit of math, and a sewing machine maybe. So yes, let's go ahead and make this. Okay, so let's talk the math first. So it does need to go around my waist, and my waist corseted in a dress is around 32 inches. Let's give a few more inches just for ease, because it's just going to tie in the front anyway. So let's say 35 inches, and maybe about 10 inches on either side for the bow. So let's say 35, 55, let's give it an even 60 inches, which is almost twice my waist measurement, which may be a little too large. But it does look like it's going to be quite a big bow, so let's say that. And I can always cut it down if it's too big. I think that should work nicely. So, yeah, let's cut the ribbon. So I do clearly see in the original that their edges are dovetailed, which is just where there's it makes a V. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on this side, and then cut a 60-inch. So this ribbon will cooperate. Yeah, there's, well, it's not an even dovetail, but it's a dovetail edge. So let's cut this. I think I bought 1-inch ribbon. I'm going to make the green one first and then work on the brown one to see if this works. I mean, it should. It looks really easy. Okay, so I did that one wrong. I made it inverted the wrong way, so this will be slightly shorter, maybe an inch. Okay, so I have my waist ribbon basically, and for how long I want these things to go. It's going pretty far up the skirt. I know my skirts are 42 inches long in the front, and so if I want to raise them 10 inches, going all the way down, I would need it to be 32, let's just say 30, and some to go across, let's say 10, so 40, and then 30 more to go up, so 70 inches, plus the seam allowance, so 71. 75. That sounds like a good even number that I can work with it if it's too much. So yeah, let's try that. So I'll need 2 of those, and these don't need to be dovetailed. If I happen to have extra ribbon, that would be a bonus because I would like it for another project. I don't know why I'm using this tape instead of actually using numbers on the table. That would have probably have been easier. Right, so let me make sure that this is actually, yes, it's just about all I purchased. So, not going to be much left, but that's okay. I have other silk ribbon, I would just have to dye it to match a project. Which is fine, I suppose. Okay. Okay, so that's all I have left. I don't remember how much I purchased, but I can probably figure out. Let me get my trusty calculator out here. So, 75 times 2 plus 60 plus, I think I purchased 5 yards plus 15 inches. And that's divided by 36, is that how many yards? So it's a little bit more, it's about 6 yards. Okay, so what I used was about 6 1/4 yards, is what the math came out to. So if you're doing this 2, that's how much I purchased. We'll see if that was good. You probably get away with a little bit less. Okay, so I have this bit. Let me find the center back, because it looks like the 2 are directly on the side. So if I find the center back, then I can find the center front. Well, I can do the measurement. Okay, let's do it this way. So let's say my waist measurement is, with the dress on over top and perhaps a belt, let's just say that is, let's say it's 34. So 34 divided by 4. I'm on spring break, I'm not doing any math myself. 8.5. So 8.5 over 8.5. This should be where the first one goes, and 8.5 this way. Of course, to actually test this out, I'm going to have to get dressed to see if that'll work. Okay, so I think, because it just looking at the picture, it just goes right over the top. I might iron these edges very quickly so they don't have any raw edges, and just stitch them to the bottom of this. I think that's what I should do next. Okay, so I ironed the edges down so there was no raw edges, and then I went ahead and pinned them on so they are together. I'm going to go ahead and hand stitch this because I think it'll hold better, and because I have thread that matches for hand sewing and I don't for machine sewing. So yeah, we're going to do that. And then I suppose the next thing will be to get the hoop skirt on and perhaps a petticoat and some fashion of a dress to see if this actually works before I cut the other one. I did end up cutting while I was working with the iron. I noticed that I think did I make these 75 inches? I made these 75 inches. And even doubled over, they were reaching the floor on me, so I was like, yee, that's a little too long, so I cut them down by 10 inches, so now they're 65 inches a piece. But yes, I think I shall stitch that myself now. So I put a dress on, kind of. I'm just wearing it over my modern clothes. It definitely works. Like, it works. And it is holding up the petticoat, even in the front and the back. I was kind of concerned because there's only 2 loops. I was thinking there needed to be one in the back as well, but it actually is holding everything up fairly well. I noticed a few things. I guess I should worry y'all to see me. Hello. So I've noticed a few things, or I've recognized a few things. First of all, I can fit in these dresses without a corset. Well, I am wearing a corset. I'm wearing my modern corset. It doesn't fit perfectly, as you can see. Things fit differently when you're in an underbust corset than you're in an overbust corset, but I can still fit in these dresses. And 2, this petticoat is much, much, much too long. So I'm going to need to shorten that by at least 5 inches. So yeah, learned a few things. But yeah, this definitely worked, so I think I can go ahead and do the brown one now. So that's done. So I got the green one complete. I think for the next one I'm going to add a few more inches to the waist part, which I should have written this down. Did I cut that 60 inches? I cut that 60 inches. So I think I cut that 70 inches. Give it a little bit more of a tail. It fit just fine. Maybe 65. Let's give it a little bit more. And I'm going to cut the other ones less. Maybe even a little less than what I end up. So that ended up, I cut that 75. Let's cut those 60. So let's just cut everything 60 inches. That'll make this, like, it fit just fine around the waist, so it's not really that big of a deal. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut 3 pieces 60 inches, which is 15 feet. That's 5 yards. That's exactly 5 yards that I'll be using for this one, which should give me a little bit extra. Let's try that. Alright, that gave me quite a bit of extra this time. It's nice to have it all in one piece instead of many different pieces. So, yeah, measuring is a good thing. If I were doing this again, I'd probably buy some really cheap, like $1 grove grain ribbon at Walmart to do a mock-up, instead of using the silk ribbon, which probably would have been the smart thing to do. But yeah, it still worked. I still got something usable, except I now have, you know, less usable ribbon left over. So, yeah, if you're doing this, highly suggest a cheap mock-up. That's always a good thing to do, is a mock-up. I'm very terrible at mock-ups. Something I need to get better at. But yes, always make a mock-up. Okay, that was just ironed. So the next step is to measure out center back, sides parts, and then pin that to this and stitch it together. And I shall have 2 ribbon skirt lifters to use for sheer dresses. I think it was 8.5 on this side. And that worked out well. I didn't notice any difficulties with that. Okay. guess we'll stitch this together. So here's the green one complete. Just put her on Edith, or put the dress on Edith, and then lifted up the skirt so you can see it works pretty well. And as I put on different petticoats, this petticoat's around the right height, and it's still all the way around, even in the back, kind of looks the same. And it has a decent bit of layover. Would have liked it to be a little bit longer, but you know, it works. And there's the stitching. I tried to do it as invisibly as possible, but you know, that didn't really work very well. Yeah, it just looks like a little ribbon belt, and then you just put your skirts through it when you need to. And I imagine if you're not using it, it'll wad up pretty nicely and fit in the pocket. But yeah, there's the green one. And here's the brown one made up. If I make them again, this is the math I'm going to use, a 60, 60, 60. That was very, very easy to manage. Yeah. It's hard to see the stitching in there, but yes, I'm very happy with how they turned out. I think they'll work very well for any time I'm needing to lift up my skirts. They'll fit very well in a pocket. They're very convenient. So I'm very happy with how they turned out. Thank you so much for joining me.